you told me this. This was your largest project to date in terms of script wise. So I believe it was like, correct me if I'm wrong, like 14 or 16 pages. And
Probably.
some of your other projects have been, small sample size projects, which is
Yeah.
good for you. No, it's just great for YouTube, and great for festivals as well. So was your plan always to like, all right, you're going to film it early in 2019 in hopes to finish it by the end of the year? Or were you like, did COVID, I guess what I'm asking is, did COVID really cause any bumps in getting it out there? Or was your plan always to kind of like release it later on, like a year or two later, because it's such a bigger project?
I think post-production is something that not enough people talk about,
Yeah.
especially for independent film. Because when I say independent film, like, this is all just people doing favors. Like, we're just doing this because we love to do it, and we try to keep it to like 2 days of filming so that people can fit it in their schedule between all their paid gigs that are on a much larger scale. Um, but yeah, like, post production wise, we struggled a lot because we were asking our editor and our audio guy and our composer to do this on their timeline. Like, I can't
Yeah.
ask for anything else. And so because lives, are unpredictable, the whole summer was kind of a struggle to hear back from people of like, so when are we going to get this? Because our composer can't start anything until he has a project. Like, he needs to know for the full length time, he needs to know the timing of the beats and all that. And then to have to go back into your editing software to make any changes, then that's affecting your music if you try to do anything after the music. And so when I was talking to our composer for this project, Matthew Pulamina, I said to him that I wanted it to be the music. This is so ridiculous now that I like know a little bit more about what information he needs to make music. I said, can you make it a mix between the opening music for How to Get Away with Murder and the music for Murder, She Wrote? And if you think about that, they are like complete opposites. And Angela Lansbury just passed away. So I just like remembered that. I was like, oh yeah, the music for this was like, inspired by Murder, She Wrote. And I think he did a really great job.
That's great.
Because you remember there was a time where you almost thought we weren't going to have this come out. Like,
we both knew. We're like, it's not where it could be. We know it could be so much better than this. And by that point, we were in the pandemic. I remember that much. I remember that at that point, when we were asking for tweaks for audio, we were in the pandemic. So it's not like we could just go over to the editor's house and try it. And we didn't, for some reason, like, our schedules didn't match, that we weren't video chatting or whatever. So there was a lot of that. And then by that point, you're in the pandemic, like, nobody's hosting festivals anymore. And a lot of the festival openings that we've usually submitted to are either in the spring or in the fall. So you miss the spring deadlines. Now you got to wait. And nobody's doing them in person. So by the time we got to an in-person screening, it was March of 2021. So we were so relieved because a lot of us were finally together again for the first time.
Is that when we watched it at First Take?
Yeah.
First Take? Yeah, outside.
And it was an outdoor
awesome
event, and you had to bring your own chair, and it was the changing of the season. So we're all out there like wearing a light sweater, and by nighttime when we're ready to watch it, I'm like, oh my God, it's so cool.
Yeah, I showed up in a t-shirt and flannel. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm kind of sweating. Then the sun went down. I'm like, I am free. Like, what is happening right now? Yeah.
So it was a nice relief. Like, honestly, I think in that sense it worked out because, like, we had made a comedy and we were finally all together. And so it was really a relief of like, oh my God, we finally did it. This project is finally able to screen in front of an audience. And one of the best things is being able to watch one of your projects with an audience where you can actually hear people react to something. And I mean, we all have watched it so many times beforehand that I don't know if we were laughing out of like actual laughter or almost insanity of like, can you believe, or like remembering like when we filmed it, like, can you believe how long it took us to do this? Like,
yeah, it was definitely victory laughs in there somewhere. Like, especially if they laughed at the same moments that we wanted them to laugh at. and it was like, okay, it
Yeah.
worked.
Oh yeah, that's the greatest
Yeah.
feeling is when like you know like what jokes you wrote or like a scene you wrote and they laugh at it and you're kind of like, yeah, fine, okay, that it worked, you know. I don't know
Yeah.
how many times I've written something and I show it to someone or put it out there and like what I thought was supposed to be the punchline and they're just sitting there like blinking their eyes. I'm like, okay, that
Yeah.
didn't, that didn't work. So, but I do remember at the First Take festival, like we were all sitting there and I think we were like the film was towards the tail end of like or like in the middle of the screening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were laughing because there was a lot of horror movies,
Right.
in that. So you get that sprinkle of comedy or like that one like trying to be artsy dramatic film that ends up being funny too, not on purpose. But this was like a good spot and it was really, it was perfect. It was a good moment.
And especially coming out of the pandemic when everybody had binge watched so much television.
Yeah.
I think that made it more relatable.
And Jess, you ended up winning an award at Hang On to Your Shorts Film Festival where the film played. I remember the guys at Hang On to Your Shorts they watched it and then like a few weeks later they're like, you got to make sure Jess is here like for this specific reason. But I remember seeing it at the film festival too, and that got some good laughs as well. So
yeah, I'm so bummed that I couldn't be in person for the screening because it's like I said, it's the best part to really hear your jokes land and whatnot. And Chris is being so like uninformative when he's like, you gotta come, and I'm like, what could I possibly be winning? Because it was nominated for best comedy, and I'm like, okay, I guess that would be awesome if it won best comedy. And I'm sitting there like I made it into the ceremony at the last second. Chris is like, I saved you a spot at the front. I'm like, what? Like, this is awkward. And they announced the nominations for best comedy, and it wasn't spoiler alert. So I'm like, wait, am I supposed to be here? I mean, obviously I'm glad to be here, but now I'm like, what is happening?
Am I supposed to be here?
Yeah, and then they say that they had a Rising Star Award, and they called my name, and of course I cried.
So not to get like too personal, but you were at the point where you were like, kind of COVID hit. I don't know if I want to pursue this anymore.
Yeah.
Right. You said that, and then you come in, and you're like, like best comedy. I drove all the way here, and I didn't get best comedy. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, what? Chris is lying to me, and I didn't want to tell you what the award was over text because like I want it to be some sort of surprise. And your speech was awesome, by the way.
Thank
like
you.
it was. I wish someone recorded it. But it was really awesome and very like moving. And I think that may have. I hope that jump started something back in you because I hear
definitely
you did a new short film.
Yeah.
Andrew Froning, a buddy of all of ours, is editing it, and he has nothing but nice things to say about how prepped you are with your notes and how like he said you shot like 14 locations, but it's like a 4-minute thing. He's like, it's super consistent. He's like, I've never seen anything like, because you think about indie filmmaking, we try to do what's best, easiest for us, 1 or 2 locations, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do that at this level where I'm like, what can I do at one location that will still be like,
oh
good,
my gosh,
right? But he said you did like 14 different locations. And Jess Arena, you're in that, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I'm excited to see that.
So I just want to finish that last thought. I had talked to Jes Arena like during the pandemic because I was like, I just don't know if like me writing silly little shorts means anything, and she really like pushed me to just hang on. And then, because I like watching comedies when I'm bummed out. Like, I don't want to watch something that's either going to make me think too hard or that's too real and I'm going to get upset about it. And then going to the Hang On to Your Shorts Awards and winning that award, I was like, okay, yeah, I can. Like, we were actually in the middle of the Sandwich short, which is the one that we're wrapping up right now. And so it was nice to see like all the filmmakers, and like I always say to people, like the biggest tool you need, especially as a writer, is support. Like you can't do anything without support. And then I just like laughing in a room full of people because everybody's so different. But if we all laugh at the same thing, it's like, oh right, we're all human.